What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Revolution Fitness Show. You're with Gerard and Matt.
What's up?
We're trying to start something new here, and we wanted to dive a little bit more into our stories. So I think it's important because we all have a story for why we got started in fitness or why we are where we are now and why we're doing what we're doing. So today we're going to dive into Matt's story a little bit, and I wanted to let him take it away and introduce himself and explain how we got here.
Sweet. Yeah.
All right, Matt.
I'm Matt Marino. So I am blessed to be here and working with Gerard. It's been a crazy experience for me. I'm 29 going on 30 in April. So I am younger, but I did have my own little fitness pathway. I probably started my fitness journey in high school. We played sports together, played baseball in high school, and we were required to work out. And that's where a lot of this started for me. I can't lie, there was also a lot of insecurities with my appearance, and obviously as a man wanted to be pretty big, or as a kid wanted to be pretty big, so I lifted a lot of weights there, moved through sports and baseball, and the fitness kind of stayed with me. At that point in my life, it was just eat as much as possible, 3 sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly, I'm eating all the food in my parents' house, like nonstop to try to gain weight, and that stuck with me. Went to college, I went to a military college. And it was all about fitness. So we're waking up at 5 and doing PT, and you're scrounging for meals in the mess hall. When I was a freshman there, I lost a lot of weight. So this was like my real first experience I just put on all this weight. I built all this muscle. Now I've lost it all. How do I get it back? Like, what do I do? And as a freshman, you were limited with the amount of food you got. And there was really no excess food. There was no time to go to the gym. We weren't really allowed to do that. So I had lost all the muscle that I had put on. So going into my sophomore year, it was how do I get it all back? And I just reverted back to the same strategy that I did in high school. And I ate a lot of food, and there was no microwaves in my dorm room. So it was a lot of canned chicken, a lot of things that you could just right out of the can, rice, cooker, stuff like that. We were making excess food, and it worked. Was I shredded? No. But I put on weight. I didn't care about how many calories I was eating. I didn't look at protein content or my macros. I just ate and worked out, and I put on all the weight that I had, lost. Because at the school, I was able to walk a lot, so I didn't really have to worry about cardio. It was a small campus, and you had to walk everywhere. So I was constantly moving, constantly walking. No elevators were allowed to be taken by students. So when I'm walking up to the 3rd floor of the building, you have to walk up the stairs, and that's pretty much every class was like that. So I didn't have to do any of the cardio stuff. It was eat, train, and just walk naturally, and it worked phenomenally. It also screwed me for once I got out of school because I didn't want to do cardio. I didn't want to walk, and that's when the next journey or the next part of this kind of came in. And when I got into a corporate job, I still worked out. I still ate a lot because I always ate a lot, but I didn't walk or move, and I gained a lot of weight. Over the course of my first 4 years in the corporate world, I probably put on like 40 to 50 pounds. So I was leaving college around 155, probably about what I am now. And then I was close to 200 pounds in 2018, 2019.
Okay. And where are you now? If we don't
probably
mind me asking, where are you now?
Probably about 155.
Okay.
160, depending on
At
that.
what point did you feel best? Like now?
Oh yeah, now.
Yeah. Okay.
Now.
Cool.
And
Just curious.
now at this weight versus like now at this point versus now at my weight then.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes. And that's kind of what I was getting at. So
the other choices that happen as part of that.
So we kind of just picked up or left off with the office job. Get us to here now.
Yeah. So I had to do that journey, and I gained a bunch of weight, had to lose it. So I learned how to put on muscle, and now I had to learn how to lose a bunch of weight. So I tried all these different fad diets. I tried keto. I tried carb cycling. I tried fasting. I tried intermittent fasting. I ate chicken and rice every single day for every single meal for like 6 months. I tried all of that stuff, and it worked, but I realized that it was miserable and not sustainable. So I had to come up with a different solution to do that. So as I'm getting all this information and learning how to do it for myself, I'm big on sharing what I learned pretty much immediately. I learn something and I go and share it. And it's always been how I was. So I was always doing this. I was developing relationships at a different gym, and they were pushing me to be like, do this professionally, do this professionally, do this professionally. So I was in corporate recruiting. I didn't like my job, and I was laid off actually as part of the meta layoffs in May. So I said, F it, let's go and do this professionally. And I loved it. So I did it professionally at a local gym. I took everything that I learned at that time and started to apply it to people there. And I did it a little bit online. I had some success with some clients. And the box gyms were just not the environment, I think, that I really liked. They offered a lot. They got me training hours. They got me confident in my training style. I got to experience different types of people, but just the environment wasn't what I wanted to.
I got you.
So when you had an opening and a need, I was like, I'm going to jump on top of that.
Yeah.
So,
and we sparked up a relationship that was like 15 years dormant or so. So really cool to see how it went full circle. And I'm glad to have you with us. And you've been a great team member with us. And I can honestly say I think everybody enjoys training with you. So that's awesome.
I hope so.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think you're doing an awesome job. Keep doing what you're doing.
Hell yeah.
I have some questions for you, so I'm going to kind of walk through your story with you. So going back to high school, just wanted to touch base on this briefly. I think we see this a lot, and I think this still goes on all the time. And I think for every male, at some point, you had some kind of experience like this. So like, I just want to be jacked. I just want to do this. And it's not only in high school. Sometimes this goes on for a long time. What was the biggest takeaway that you got from that era, let's say, that time frame of your life? Like, what was regarding training, what was the biggest thing that you got?
You can't mix goals.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be a better baseball player.
I like that.
I cannot have a goal of trying to bench 315 pounds.
Yes.
Because then all of a sudden I just
cool.
Right?
That is a great point right there.
Needed to be separated. And I was trying to do both, and it hurt the baseball performance.
Yeah. How about, let's apply this to a member here. So how about somebody who wants to gain muscle mass, but then at the same time they're saying, I want to lose body fat. Not that you can't do that. I just wanted to kind of compare it to that. So sometimes I think we get caught up in trying to do all of these things at once.
You can't stack the same goals.
Right. Focus on one thing. So figure out what it is that you truly want to do. Most of the time, I would say people really want to lose body fat. So make that the priority. You could focus on the muscle mass at a later point. Get your body fat down, and then you could always take it from there. So that is something that we see all the time. That's a great lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Moving through. So you are now a freshman at college. Very military structured lifestyle, right? And you lost a lot of that muscle mass.
Oh, yeah.
How did that feel to you? Like, how did that make you feel? What were the thoughts that were going through your head?
I was definitely still experiencing insecurities that were in high school. So there was a lot of that. And a male-dominated school. And it was the whole school was about basically working out and fitness. I mean, people built their class schedules around that. So as a freshman, when I was going through that and then had an opportunity to get into a leadership role, which was about intimidation, and I only weighed 120 pounds, I was like, okay, something's got to give.
Okay, so I want to dive into this a little bit more. Not so much on the insecurities, even though we do all have those, and that's okay. We need to learn to overcome those. But what I want to dive in, and we'll get to that at a different time. What I wanted to dive into more here is talk about the energy that you were burning during that time versus what you were eating and how your body reacted to it. Give us a little insight onto what was going on there.
I didn't care what I ate, right? I ate whatever was available to me. And the mess hall offered 3 standard meals, and that's what you ate. So you ate family style mess. So it wasn't like I can go up and get second portions. It was basically you had to share all the food on the table with everybody else, aside from dinner, which then you could eat. And I'd probably eat 2 to 3 plates of food and then a waffle on top of that. I'm telling you, I did not care what I ate.
All right, so go ahead.
After that, I would also substitute or supplement with things like canned chicken, rice, frozen veggies, things that were easily made that didn't require anything to do. And I would supplement with that. And then before bed, I would have a casein shake, or depending on what year it was, a mass gainer shake, to really add my calories. So I was probably consuming 5,000 plus calories.
That was going to be my question. How many calories were you taking in? And what happened? What was the outcome? I just want to make a point here because I think
I blew up. Awesome. I mean, I blew up.
Right? Okay, right? So we blew way up.
Oh, yeah.
But what came with that? So muscle mass came with it. What
Well,
else
yeah,
came with
fat,
it?
I mean, fat gain
Body
came with
fat
it.
came
Yeah,
with it,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
So again, just
Digestive issues came with
digestive.
that.
So we want to focus on these things, but we want to make sure that we are learning from it and taking the right approach, working
Right.
with a professional to
Would I
help
do
us.
that the same way as a adult? Absolutely not. Would I suggest for a younger kid who is looking to put on weight to eat and not care about the calories? Yeah, like I would. So if I have a young athlete who is strong but needs to get bigger, I would say eat what you enjoy eating
Right.
that has nutrients in it, and don't really worry about.
You will learn as you go at that.
Yeah, like you don't really
Absolutely.
worry about any of the other stuff unless you have allergies and things that require that.
Moving along now, Matt. To the office job. So moving through that, would you say your calories significantly decreased? Okay, so what happened?
Dude,
What happened?
I doubt anybody's familiar with Randazzos, but that's an Italian bakery, deli, right? Out in Somerset or Bridgewater area. And I would eat a full Randazzo sandwich. They were this big of like chicken parm sandwiches like once a week. I would go to Jersey Mike's and get a full giant sub and eat the whole thing. And I was eating breakfast and I was eating dinner. At this point in time, I was living with my wife and her family, my in-laws, and my mother-in-law is she's a fantastic cook and she could feed me. So I was eating these massive sandwiches for lunch and then a phenomenal dinner, Italian dinner after that. And I'd be eating the leftovers for breakfast. So I was consuming the same amount of calories and doing significantly less on the exercise.
Yeah, and mostly the moving, right? The walking, just daily activity.
Yeah.
So that does make a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Not that that's everything, but it really does help a significant amount. As it gets warmer here, get your steps in.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to remind you. Okay, last thing that I want us to touch base on is, so obviously you went through some kind of transformation to get from there to here. You mentioned keto, you mentioned carb cycling, you mentioned only doing chicken and rice, right? Talk to me about where you are now a little bit and what you learned along the way.
Yeah, so now I'm aware of what I'm eating, right? Like I have certain things that I follow. Like I was telling a member today, I don't really eat a carbohydrate without a protein. So when I want to eat my cereal, which I love cereal, I will add a scoop of protein powder to the milk and mix it with the cereal. So now, yes, it's more calories, but at least I'm getting a protein with my carbohydrate. So like things like that I practice. I get a lot of fiber. I do tend to eat a lot of fruits. Try to get vegetables in for at least one meal, dinner every day. So I practice these things. I don't do things like counting my calories, counting my macros, but that's because I went through the phase of counting all those things. So I have the knowledge of like, I can generally tell you how many calories and what the macro breakdown is of these things.
What was the best thing that you did to get you to that point where you felt like
recording
knowledgeable, right?
Yeah. I mean, you need to build the awareness. If you're not aware of what it is, again, I was talking to a member today and we were talking about the difference between a protein shake and an egg, right? And yes, an egg is a whole food that is great. You should eat eggs. They're good for you. But they are high in calories, high in fat, and relatively low in protein versus having a protein shake, which is straight protein, from a budget. And like we were talking about the budget of our calories, right? And we're trying to achieve our protein and macro goal. Like a protein shake may be a better option
for you
for that time. Yeah, for that purpose, for that goal, depending on what our goals are. So learning that from tracking was a huge.
Absolutely. The other thing that I think it really helps you with is just managing what is what. You'll be able to look at something and be able to eyeball it a lot better.
1,000%.
You'll also know like, oh wow, that's very calorie dense versus this is not very calorie dense, and it will fill me up a little bit for the time being. So it will teach you a lot. One thing that I can compare it to is if I were learning to play an instrument, let's say I'm in the beginning phases of playing an instrument, when I'm first trying to play a song, I'm going to need the notes for that song to play my song, whether it's a guitar or a piano or whatever. The more I play that song, I'll be able to play it eventually without the notes in front of me or without relying on the notes. So that's a good way to look at calorie counting. We need to know the basics. We need to know it before we can try to ignore it.
Yeah, it's intimidating in the beginning. And then once you start doing it, it's pretty much second nature.
You learn it.
Yeah. And then
it
you
becomes
start
easier.
tracking things less and less because you don't need to, and that's where it is now.
Last thing here, Matt. What was the biggest pain point, if you don't mind me asking, that you experienced along this whole journey here that was like the biggest kick in the butt for you, kind of?
Well, this doesn't just apply to fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Probably applies to my entire life. I will put effort in now to see an immediate result. And that goes for everything. So I go like really obsessive and try to learn something as much as I can and then implement that and then expect the result is going to happen immediately. And it doesn't happen. And that happened a lot in the fitness stuff. It takes years to actually achieve what you want to achieve. And you can't be like, I'm working and it's been 3 weeks. Why haven't I seen this amazing, result? So
something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. Like I would, looking back, I would tell myself, if you wanted to lose weight at a half a pound per week, opposed to trying to lose 5 pounds in 2 weeks, right?
Gotcha.
So, or vice versa. If you want to build muscle, don't eat at a 1,500 calorie excess. Right. Eat at a 500 or 275 calorie excess and put on muscle slowly because you'll feel so much better opposed to shocking your body, and allow for the time to happen and keep showing up, keep being consistent. And I wouldn't have that battle like mentally.
Right.
Which sucked.
Stop playing short-term game when in reality, this is a lifelong game. Yeah. You know? I think that's a huge takeaway.
I feel like now I wasted all these. I know it wasn't a waste because I learned, but I wasted all that time battling different fads and trying to do different things. When it's like, if I just did what I do now, then I would have been way more. I would have been quicker at achieving the goal or the result because I would have had a consistent strategy and I wouldn't have been beating myself up, changing all these things all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, I actually made it longer than it needed to be because I was trying to make it shorter.
Right. Absolutely, man. No, it makes no sense, but at the same time, it makes all the sense in the world. So thank you so much for joining us. Next episode, we're going to talk about me a little bit. And thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Cool.